Hey guys, today I look absolutely crazy, and that's because I'm about to film a 7 first impressions video. Before we get started, I want to ask you guys an honest question. I will have a little poll up here. Are you more likely to click on a video called full face of first impressions or 7 first impressions? Let me know what you're more likely to click on and be honest. And I'm really excited for today's video because I'm going to be testing out for the first time a ton of new products I am really interested in, and I will just go ahead and show you all of my 7 products. I have the ColourPop No Filter Foundation, the ColourPop No Filter Setting Powder, the ColourPop No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder, the Milani Baked Bronzer in Dolce, the Pretty Vulgar Blush in Hush Blush, which a bunch of you guys had gotten in a boxy charm, the Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow in Thunderstruck as a cheekbone highlight, and my 7th item is the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette, which looks like this if you guys are unfamiliar. So I will be doing an in-depth review on all of the ColourPop No Filter products at the end of the month, but I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys my first impressions on them, and I'm really excited to try these products. So you guys know that I usually film first impressions and follow-ups on foundation, and I want to do the best I can today to really test this out. So what I'm going to do is prime one side of my face and not the other side. One side of my face will be applied with a sponge, the other side with a brush. And I will be using the loose powder under my eyes on both sides of my face and the pressed powder on my face on both sides of my face, so we can see the differences that a primer might bring to the table, as well as which application method I prefer. And like I said, full in-depth review at the end of the month, and I'll be testing these out, comparing them to some of my staple products to see if they hold up just as well. So I am going to be priming this side of my face. I'm going all over with the Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer, which has a little bit of a thicker consistency, but it's just a really nice smoothing primer. And then I'm going to be taking the Dr. Brandt Pores No More Primer in my large pores in the side of my nose. So pressing it into my skin, then smoothing over it towards the outside of my face. So for the foundation, on this side, I'm going to apply it with sponge, and this side a brush. I'm doing a sponge on this side with the primer because most of the time I apply my foundation with a sponge, so I feel like this side is going to be like the most accurate representation of how I would typically wear my makeup. And I am using the shade Fair 15, which is the 3rd lightest shade in the range, but the 2nd lightest with yellow undertones. I'm really impressed with ColourPop shade selection, and I really hope this matches me. Pretty liquidy consistency here, reminding me of Estee Lauder Double Wear, which I like that consistency. So I'm just gonna dot this on my skin. I've been saying the phrase "go ahead" a ton, and it really gets on my nerves, so I'm trying to not say that, so I apologize if I say it in this video. Also, I've heard some people say this oxidize, and I haven't heard others mention that, so we'll see. I had a hard time picking my shade. ColourPop tried to put up a foundation matching guide, like if you're typically this shade in Maybelline, you're gonna be this shade in the ColourPop, and that did not help me very much because I had 3 different foundations that I know what my shade is, and then compared to the ColourPop, it showed me 3 different ColourPop shades. So I went with this one because I'd rather it be a little too light than too dark, but hopefully we will have a really nice match here. So now that I have it dotted on my skin, I'm going to take my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge and just press it in. And I think this is supposed to be a medium buildable to full coverage with a natural matte finish, but from what I've heard other people say, it's not really matte at all. It's mostly just a natural finish. So here's one layer of foundation applied with a sponge versus no foundation. It's definitely looking a little light for me, which is okay. And I feel like we have light medium coverage right now, so hopefully this is buildable. So now I have it dotted on this side of my face. I'm gonna go in with my Sigma F80 flat top kabuki brush, and I'm gonna be rotating between pressing it into my skin and buffing it into my skin dang, this does look really light. So I actually wouldn't mind if it oxidized a bit. So here's one layer of foundation applied with the sponge versus one layer of foundation applied with the brush. The coverage is very similar, but I am able to see less redness and freckling on the brush side. So I'm thinking maybe this is more light and this is light medium, but it was really easy to blend this out with a brush. I think it's because it is such a thin consistency. It works well with both a sponge and a brush so far, which I really appreciate. So now we will try to build it up. Here are 2 layers applied with the sponge versus 1 layer applied with the brush. This definitely did give more coverage. It was buildable, but I can still see mostly my freckling through it. I can't see too much redness, which is nice. So I think we now have medium coverage, not like a high medium, but a solid medium coverage on this side. So we will see if we can build it up with the brush. So here are 2 layers applied with the sponge versus 2 layers applied with the brush. It definitely was quite buildable. On this side, I can hardly see any redness or freckling, so I would say we are a solid full coverage on this side. Not the fullest of the full, it's actually more on the lighter end of full coverage, but I think it looks really nice. It doesn't look too makeup-y. The shade is definitely too light for me, which I'm really surprised by. It hasn't seemed to oxidize on me, not yet anyway, unless you guys are noticing it or I notice it when I'm editing, but I don't really see any kind of oxidization happening. So now we're going to move on to concealer. I have used the ColourPop No Filter concealers before. I do really enjoy it, but I purchased 2 new shades I haven't tried yet. Fair 4 for under my eyes and Fair 8 for my blemishes. And I know that this concealer does oxidize, so I am going to start with the Fair 8 for blemishes. I'm going to let that product sit for a while before I blend it out. And this is definitely going to be darker than my foundation, I'm assuming. So I've got, yeah, definitely darker than the foundation, but that's all right. It looks like this is actually a good match for my skin tone. And I do like this concealer for blemishes. I just need to let it set for a while so that I don't blend out all the coverage. And then taking Fair 4 under my eyes. I love that they have so many shades of the foundation and the concealer, but it can make it tricky to pick out your shade. So we are going to do the little upside down triangle dealio here. Okay, this concealer looks a little bit more on the peachy side. It isn't really that warm, which is a bummer. The shade Light 10 is a color I used to use, and that matches my skin tone really well, but then it oxidizes to be too dark. So I'm just going to take the pointed side of my beauty sponge to blend out this concealer. And that blends so nice and gives a really great solid medium coverage, which is really all I need under my eyes because I don't have a ton of darkness. And this is a great shade to brighten. So I wish it was a little more yellow tone, but because it's under my eyes and not on my skin, I'm okay with it being a little peachier. Then I'm taking this RC Cosmetics Angled Flat Top Kabuki brush and just blending over the blemish concealer to help keep the coverage instead of using a sponge. So here is just a close-up of my skin so far. I think that covered up my acne really well, and my acne isn't too intense right now. The foundation covered up a lot of it, but I do think the concealer covered up the rest, and it actually is a nice shade match. I think it might be a little darker than the foundation, but it blended in really nicely, and this shade works much better for me than the color I was using previously. So I'm really happy with the color of the concealers that I got. So now I am going to set my under eyes with the ColourPop No Filter Setting Powder. I got the translucent shade. So I am going to dump some of that into the cap. Take my beauty sponge again and just blend out any creases under my eye before I set those creases. And then I'm taking this little mini Miracle Eraser sponge from Real Techniques to set under my eyes. So just picking up a good bit of the powder Ooh. Okay, so you can definitely see that this leaves some color behind. It does not look translucent. It looks much brighter under this side than it does on the eye that doesn't have any powder yet. So maybe I just need to blend it in a little bit more. And I did apply kind of a heavy amount. So here is an under eye with powder and without powder. Now that I've blended it a bit more, I don't think it looks too bright. And ooh, that has a really smooth consistency. So I like that so far. And also, I don't mind a bright under eye. And then taking some more under this eye. I think that looks good and it's so smooth. I like the formula of this powder so far. Some powders are so finely milled that I feel like they are just like poofy dust all over the place and they don't actually adhere to your skin, but this has a really great texture. So then we have the face powder, which is the No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder. I, of course, have the shade Fair, which looks like a good shade match for me. I'm thinking that this powder does not have much coverage. As you can see, that sheer pressed powder doesn't usually sound like something I would like. We'll see if this was good at mattifying, and then I might like it as a touch-up powder, but of course for today I'm going to use it as an all-over face setting powder, and I'm going to apply it with the e.l.f. powder brush. I want to try to pack on as much powder as I can, and my face definitely feels a little bit tacky, but not bad. But for me, most foundations don't set on their own, so not a bunch of kick up in the pan. That's nice. And I'm gonna powder one side of my face first so we can see if it looks like there's any kind of a color difference. And because I'm oily, I don't do a light dusting of powder. I do pack it on to my skin. And also for me, I don't want my face to feel tacky at all. Oh. I'm packing on a good amount of powder, as you can see, and my face still feels tacky. Nope. That is not gonna fly with me. Like, does that mean my cheek products are gonna be patchy on top? I don't know. I think it's getting better as I keep putting more powder over the same spot, but I do not like that. So, I mean, and this is a sheer pressed powder, so this is probably not what it's meant to be for, but at the same time, how could this be good for a touch-up either? I'll try it. I'll try it both ways and I'll let you know, but so far, this is like the one thing from this line that I am not enjoying. Okay, so here is the side of my face that has been completely set with powder. And this is the side without face powder on it. So this side does have a little bit of a glow to the skin, but it definitely does not look dewy. I've heard some people say this foundation looks dewy on them. I don't notice that at all. I think my skin looks really nice and natural and healthy on this side. It doesn't look too cakey or heavy with powder, which is nice, but I just would rather my face feel set and look a little bit cakey than to still feel a little tacky. So now our base is finally done. We're gonna move on to cheek products. So I have the Milani Baked Bronzer in the shade Dolce. This is one of their shimmery bronzers, and this is more of a warm tone. When this first came out, people were really loving it, and I decided to purchase this recently because I had a gift card from Target. I'm a little nervous I'm not gonna like this one because it's too warm, so I want to test it, and if I don't like it, return it. I have a couple of the matte baked bronzers from Milani that were limited edition that are holy grail to me, and we'll see if I like this one as well. I don't really have shimmery bronzers in my collection. I'm gonna be applying it with my e.l.f. stippling brush. Whoa, quite a bit of kick up there. And I really like applying bronzer with the stippling brush because I am so fair. It's definitely more forgiving than a concentrated brush. Okay, that's pretty. I'm gonna try to build it up a little more. And it does not look glowy on my skin. It looks like more of a satin, just like a nice healthy bronzer, not dry or flat. I like that. Okay, good. I was really scared. Okay, now getting a little more concentrated in my cheeks. I'm not going to be contouring today because I forgot to bring out a contour product, but this is fine. All right, I think that looks nice. It's definitely warm tone and maybe it's showing up more orange on camera, but I think it looks pretty in person. So now for blush, I have the Pretty Vulgar Make Them Blush in the shade Hush Blush. My friend Sierra gave this to me and she had gotten this from BoxyCharm. This is such a pretty color. The packaging is very cheap feeling. It looks pretty, but oh my gosh, this is so lightweight, but that does not really matter to me as long as the blush is good. And I'm going to be applying with my Sigma F15 Duo Fiber Blush Brush, which I use with all of my really pigmented blushes. I haven't even swatched this one yet, so I'm not sure what the pigment is like. Yeah, this was a good choice, I think. Kicks up a little bit of powder, but I don't really mind. Whoa, okay, yes. This brush is the right choice. Wow, that's really pigmented. This is a really nice, natural, peachy, everyday color, though. Oh my gosh, wow, this is really intense. Pretty. And it is a nice matte blush, which I like. I like shimmer blushes too, but I really do enjoy matte blushes. And then to highlight, I am going to be using the Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow in Thunderstruck. These are being discontinued and they have been on sale on the Sephora website, and also my Sephora inside JCPenney has like all the colors, and in store I think they're like $10.50 or so, but online they might be a little bit more. And everybody has raved about this for so long as a highlighter. It is like a really pretty white gold color. So before I apply the product, I did want to talk about the Kat Von D controversy, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of it. Kat Von D came out and said she's not going to be vaccinating her child who she's still pregnant with. And I'm not very knowledgeable about vaccines, but I do know that they're around for a reason and they prevent diseases that can cause a lot of damage to children and people. And I agree with what a lot of people are saying, is that it's not just her choice, because her choice can affect tons of other people. And unless her child is going to be bubble boy, if he or she comes in contact with other children, those children have the possibility of getting a disease from him, or he can get a disease from them. And I saw some posts online from people who were not vaccinated as children, and their parents all had really great intentions behind that, and then they got terribly sick. I saw one post of someone who almost died from a sickness, and then when she had kids, she decided absolutely they are going to be vaccinated. And just vaccines are there for a reason, and they do prevent a lot of diseases. And it is not the same thing as a flu shot. I know a lot of people say that they get the flu shot and then they get the flu, but there are a lot of diseases out there, and kids carry a lot of germs. Like if you ever work with kids, you're gonna get sick all the time. So I'm not really boycotting Kat Von D. I don't really buy many of her products anyway. I will be keeping and using everything that I have, but I did want to let you guys know my stance on the anti-vax. So taking Thunderstruck and my Morphe M501 brush, pretty. And because this is an eyeshadow, it's going to be so pigmented, and this seems like it should be such a good shade for my skin tone. Can you guys see that reflect? Pretty. I think that looks so pretty. And also, I had been saving this highlight for this first impression video, and then the whole Kat Von D controversy came about, and I still wanted to share my thoughts with you about this product and test it out in this video, and then share my thoughts on the controversy as well. Also, I didn't watch it, but I saw someone share a video that Bill Nye the Science Guy did on vaccines, and yeah, I'm gonna take the advice of Bill Nye the Science Guy over Kat Von D. And I think another part of the controversy was that she was spreading misinformation about vaccines, and she was getting her research from non-reputable sources or maybe just one source, and she was using that as like her whole reasoning behind not vaccinating her child, when there have been tons of studies and tons of research about why vaccinations are important. And because she is a public figure, making a statement like vaccines are bad and can cause autism and all of these different things that she was saying, by being such a public figure, she is influential to other people. And again, it is something that she chose to state publicly instead of just keeping it to herself. And just because all of these people are boycotting her or trying to share information with her about why vaccinations are important, it does not mean that she's going to vaccinate her kid. But one good thing I think came out of this is that educated a ton more people about why vaccines truly are important, and hearing so many stories from people who were not vaccinated or were vaccinated and what a big difference it made for their health. So I think there can be some good that has come out of this situation as far as proper information goes. But I do like this highlight. I think it looks beautiful, and it is really natural looking on the skin. I mean, it has an intense glow, but it doesn't look like a heavy powdery shadow, so I really am enjoying that. So I have already primed my eyes and set them with shadow, and I will be using the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions. On one of my eyes, I'm just going to apply the shimmer shadow directly over my eye primer, and on the other side, I'm going to apply it over a cream shadow stick, because I do typically use a shadow stick under all powder shadows. So these shades don't have names, which is a bummer, but I'm going to take this middle shade here with the Morphe R38 brush, and I am going to apply this as my transition color. And I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but there is a little bit of kick up in the pan, but it's not bad. And that actually is blending really nicely. I mean, it is a lighter shade, but it is blending nice. And I was afraid this was gonna look too cool compared to the rest of these, and it's not. It's just more neutral tone. This shadow is not too stiff or too powdery, so I'm liking it so far. So then I'm gonna go in with a lid shade. I'm gonna use this one here. There's only 2 shimmers in this palette, which I think is fine. I would have liked one more, but I do think that it is really pretty. So I'm gonna use this one on my lid. So I am going to apply the Balm Batter Up shadow stick in the shade Curveball, which is just a coppery color. I'm going to apply it on this lid. And the reason I use shadow sticks is because it helps make the color more vibrant and helps the pigment adhere to my eye. So like I said, I'm going to take this shade on my MAC 239 flat shader brush, which is a natural hair brush, which I think really helps pick up more dimethicone shadows. And the swatch of this is nice. It isn't too dimethicone because those can crease on me, but it isn't really dry and flaky either. So I like the way that swatches. Let's see how it applies. So I'm going to do it on the side with just the primer first. Not really any kick up with the shimmer shade, and picked up a good bit of pigment on the brush. And I'm just going to press it onto my lid. Wow. I don't have a glitter glue or a cream shadow base or anything. So let's now try to see how this looks over the base. Wow, can you see the difference there? It just really punches up the color. Whoa. Okay, so here is just with primer, and here is with primer and a cream shadow stick. Seriously makes such a difference. I feel like people don't use cream shadows anymore, and they really can make a difference in how intense your eyeshadow looks. Like, they look like 2 completely different colors right now. And I don't have any fallout under my eyes, which is really impressive. So now I'm gonna put this shade here in my crease using the Morphe R39 brush. I really like this color. And yeah, the mattes definitely do have a good bit of kick up, but they're not too powdery. Well, now that I'm saying that one didn't show up on my eye as much as I would like. So let's see if we can build this up a bit. Okay, yes, much better. So that just needed to be layered a little bit, which is not bad, but I was just really raving about these shadows. But that looks nice. Like, it's blending nicely and it doesn't look patchy, I don't think. I'm surprised with the amount of kick up I have in the pan that this isn't so super intense from the get-go. And I wish it was a little bit more, but at least it is buildable to a nice pigment, but could be better there. So I'm going to apply this shade in my outer corner, outer crease with my MAC 286 Duo Fiber Tapered Blending Brush. Sometimes with deep shadows they can look a little muddy, which is why I want to go in with this one. I know this isn't the most colorful look out of all of the shades here, but I think this will really help me test the formula of this shadow. Okay, that was nice. Oh yeah, that looks good. That helped deepen it. That helped deepen it without making it look patchy. And still, no fallout at all under my eyes, which is very impressive. So now I'm going to take the shimmer shade on my finger to intensify the pigment on my lid. And I just really like the texture of these shimmers. I wish the Gemstone palette had different shades in it, because now with my experience of these shimmers, I would love to have a total shimmer palette from her. Yes. So now this one almost looks as intense as this one when applied with the finger. So now let's do it on this side. Dang. These have so much reflect to them. So that is all of the shadow complete. Like I said, I know it's not the most crazy colorful look I could have done with this palette, but I really wanted to see what I thought of the shadows. So I'm going to apply my mascara and lip product off camera and then come back to show you the full face complete. So here is the finished look. On my lips, I'm wearing the Tarte Tarteist Glossy Lip Paint in the shade Obvi. And right now, it is 11:30 and I'm going to check back in with you guys in about 6 hours to give you my final thoughts on these products and to show you how all of the complexion products are wearing. And I will of course give you my full final thoughts at the end of the month and my monthly favorites and product updates video. So in case first impressions aren't your favorite, make sure you check that video at the end of the month to get my full finalized thoughts once I've been able to test out all of these products a little bit more. So I will see you guys in 6 hours. Hey guys, I am back for my check-in. It is 5:30 p.m. so I've had this makeup on for 6 hours. I feel like my face looks fine far away, but I got real close in the mirror and I'm very oily all over, as you can see. Got a lot of oil on the center of my face. 2 hours in, I noticed my chin felt oily. 2 hours in, so that's not that good. Also, getting close up in the mirror, I can see that the foundation has separated on my cheeks, especially my nose, and the foundation has started to pool with oil and separate in the creases of my nostrils. It's worn off my chin, which is usually the first place for my foundation to go because I tend to rest my head in my hand. I'm not in love, and I really wanted to love this ColourPop foundation. It's not the worst. I'm still gonna test this out more, obviously. And from the reviews I've seen, people have liked it but haven't been in love. I do think this shade looks better though, and I don't know if it's because it oxidized or if it was because when I put the powder on, the powder helped it match me a little bit more. I mean, definitely still a little light, but it doesn't look so bad. But for some reason, whenever I put on all the rest of my makeup, any foundation that's too light ends up looking a little bit better. So I'm not like super disappointed with the foundation, but a little bit. So to give you more of my final thoughts for the day, the ColourPop No Filter foundation, definitely too light for me, but it did have a nice yellow undertone. It blended out really easily. I do wish that it had a longer wear time, and I wish it mattified a little bit more. I also am really disappointed with the fact that it is separating on my skin because I don't usually tend to have that problem. It will wear away, usually on my chin, but not quite separate. So far, I'm so on this. I definitely need to test this more and with more of my mattifying products. For the concealers, I do really like these two shades. I think I picked Fair 4, great for the under eyes, and Fair 8, really good for my skin tone. Again, I'll be excited to try these with other foundations that match me well so I can see for sure if these are a good color match for me, but so far so good with those. For the No Filter Loose Setting Powder, I did really like this. It feels very smoothing under my eye and it doesn't look creasy or cakey. I love the Laura Mercier Loose Setting Powder, but sometimes that can look a little crepey or cakey under the eye, so I am enjoying this. The number one disappointment for this video, I'm sure you guys all figured, would be the ColourPop No Filter Sheer Press Powder. I'll definitely let you know in my full review how this works as a touch-up powder as well as just a regular setting powder, but this is probably going to be something good for people that want a light dusting of powder, maybe that has a more dry skin type, but for someone that likes oily skin or a lot of powder on you, I don't think you'll love that. Then for the cheek products, I need to use them all a bit more, especially the bronzer, to get my thoughts on this. But I think it looks nice. I especially like it up around my forehead. I think I look really sun-kissed and it's not too glowy. And the bronzer, again, that I was using is the Milani Baked Bronzer in Dolce. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. The Pretty Vulgar blush in Hush Blush, I think, looks really pretty. It was a lot more pigmented than I expected, but it blended really nicely. And I love the color and that it is a matte finish. Even with all the Kat Von D controversy, this Metal Crush shadow in Thunderstruck gives the most beautiful glow on my skin, and it does not look like a heavy product. It looks like a really natural glow, so I'm really loving this color and the texture on my skin. And then the last product was the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. I feel like this one has like a B+ for me. I love the formula of the shimmers, and I think the mattes were nice and buildable and blendable. I especially love this darkest color, and I'm glad that they built up nicely, but I would have liked if they had a lot more pigment initially, but the fact that they do build quickly and with a tiny amount of product gives me hope in these. So it's not my most favorite formula for the mattes, but I would say a B+ on the palette overall, and I'm excited to create more looks with it. So guys, those are my thoughts on all of the products that I tried for the first time today. As I said, I will be giving you more in-depth thoughts in my July favorites and product updates. If you guys have tried any of these things, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments and down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.